Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and welcome back for some more EVE Online. Welcome back also to JITA, the Wall Street of EVE Online, the largest trade hub in the game. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, but it's something that I actually want to do, because doing EVE Talk, I also take a look at ships, and Tech2 ships are really not doing very well. So we are going to take a look at the Tech2 market, not for ships, but for other stuff, and then we're going to try and understand to see what's going on. I'm kind of fearing a sort of a general crash, and so I want to see if that's confirmed and basically what the hell is happening. So let's dive right in here. Here is the market, and I'll maybe quickly show you guys. So if we go for Tech2 ships, some of the reasons why I'm worried. Here's the Hound, for instance, 1 year low point, 5-day moving average well below 20 million. That has not happened in over a year and is actually very cheap. Here is the Ishtar, low point that we haven't seen in a very long time. And then another one, here is the Zealot, also clearly breaking the trend, moving to a super low point that we haven't seen in a very long time. Or if ever, perhaps, on some of these. I'm not exactly sure. But there's, of course, a much larger Tech2 market. And an easy way that I found to take a look at that is just press double I, because a lot of the equipment, for instance, does just have that double I at the end, and this will allow me to go through some of these Tech2 items here as well. Let's just go up here on some of them. 10,000 MN Afterburner 2, right? Look at that. Definitely also well below the average of the first half of the year, and currently very close to a 1 year low point. Also, I'll just go over a couple of these to see if we can spot some trends. I'm definitely seeing pressure here and another below average price. And then there are exceptions. Apparently, here is the 100 MN Afterburner that has just known a spike from, let's say here, 3.3 million, and we went up on a couple of days to almost 6 million ISK. So Tech2 is still pretty interesting for trading, but if this is the only spike on a 1 year chart, and I can actually extend that just a little bit, that's of course not a lot of trading that you can do in this one specific item, or a lot of profit taking that you can do in this very specific item. We'll take a look at the 10 MN Afterburner as well here. A lot more interesting. Okay, so I like this. I like the fact that we're seeing different things. Now, a lot of them seem to be pretty low, just like the ships, but here, this is tradable volatility, right? You've got 1, 2, let's say 2, 3, 4, and 5 spikes that are definitely doable. The bad news, if you want to call it that, is that the low points here do get lower and lower as we go further into the chart on this 1 year chart. But this is something you can trade in, right? Try to buy for like as close as possible to 2.5 million, definitely below 3, and then try to sell for 4 million or 3.5 million. You definitely have a little bit of action that you can do in a chart like this. Pretty interesting. We're not going to go over all the list, but just to get started here, we are going to do some of these top ones. 1200mm artillery cannons, very different all of a sudden, a lot more stable on this chart with some volatility that's still causing problems here, this data point. With the chart, maybe I'll go a little bit like this. Okay, this goes from, let's say, 2 million, easily below that, 3 million at the high points. It's slightly tradable, it's not that great, but the average price is still holding on quite well. And then we move back, 125mm Gatling cannon, moving to a 1 year low point, which is basically below the entire chart. So it is happening here and there. That is pretty obvious. Howitzer just knew a very nice little period up to 7 million ISK. Could be meta related on that. Let's get into some more general use items. Let's see if we can find something heavy stuff. We could look at that. Here is the Heavy Assault Missile Launcher 2. Okay, 1.5 million is the high end, seeing some pressure at the end, but this chart hasn't got me worried, like the Hound chart, like the Zealot chart. This still feels like it's okay. Here are heavy beam lasers actually doing well, trading for 2.5 million above the start of the year. A couple of nice spikes, right? If you can grab these below 2 million and then try to sell them for 3.5 million, that's definitely a nice little trade. Heavy capacitor booster, that's the bad news again, trading for 1.5 million at the moment. Let's take a quick look at sellers and buyers on this. Yeah, 1.5 million for the sellers, 0 buyers buyers in Jita itself. What about the trade hubs? A little bit here, going for around 1.3 million. Okay, there's some competition for that. Interesting. But this is definitely trading very, very low at the moment. Electron Blasters, that's apparently a little bit more popular, I would say. Blasters tend to be decently popular and used in PvP, trading above average. Energy neutralizers, this is a 1 year chart that you don't want to see. The volatility here in June and July is nice, but going from 7 million and currently trading for 5 million, coming off of a bottom here, not that hot. Energy Nosferatu clearly also struggling, very, very low. Any other words that can give us a nice little segment? Here are some large stuffs. Let's go for large armor repair 2. Okay, another 1 year chart that's clearly showing, you could say, deflation in the price, right? Starts at least 3 million ISK, goes down to almost 1.5 million. And is now starting to move up a little bit, but currently trading for around 2 million on average, a bit above that for the sellers, 1.7 million for these buyers. A pretty wide gap, showing not a lot of demand. Average price at 2 million though, so these sellers are able to mostly dictate the prices, but this is definitely, yeah, this looks like a crash. Over a 1 year period, this is not that great. Large capacitor, battery, below average. At least it's some of them very stable here. Large EMP smart bomb, despite being traded every single day in decent volumes, I would say, for the good. It's doing okay. And actually a large graviton smart bomb that's trading higher at the moment. Let's see, shield booster. For instance, some shield mods. Okay, you know what? Here, very quickly on the 1.5 million range, a little bit of volatility at the end, but nothing to panic about. What about a large shield extender? Look at that, 5,000 trades a day. That's definitely something that's used quite often and traded quite often. Definitely at the low end here, around the 1 million mark. This is going to be a bit of an exception. A large Voltron projector. I'm still a little bit curious about that. Still 200 million ISK for a weapon system, 260 in fact for the sellers. Yeah, that is still very, very expensive, and something that I'll work on when prices are more reasonable for my liking, let's say. What else could we take a quick look at? Some medium stuff for cruisers, for instance. Medium capacitor battery should definitely be decently popular and is clearly trading well below the average here as well. Cap booster 2, maybe, well, 1 million. Quite some volatility here in the first half of the chart, and now we're settling down, but still no reason to panic. I would say it's not like we're diving down here at the end to a super pronounced 1 year low point, so that's all okay. Shield booster here again. Oh, very late spike, but showing that big difference, right? Decently stable over the entire year, starting at around 600,000, a little bit above that, ending here at 550. Okay, there's a bit of deflation here, but then look at that tail end here, went up to above 1 million ISK all of a sudden, and the gap is being plugged, but that was definitely a nice little trade opportunity for a couple of days here where people managed to take some nice profits. Shield extender 2, doing quite okay at a 750,000 ISK range, so this all feels kind of alright, with a couple of them not doing too well. Small stuff, don't think, well, we could take a look at something like your armor rep, small armor repair 2, that ought to be decently popular. Here you are seeing the pressure, but again, relative to the start of the year, we're back where we started, so this is not a general crash that I was starting to fear in all of this. Thermal stuff, thermal hardeners, doing okay. Thermal coating, that's definitely not being traded enough. Shield amplifier, late spike here as well, so there is still some action, some life in the Take 2 ship market. And then you have stuff like this, a thermal shield hardener 2, started here well above 2 million and is currently clearly struggling and playing with 1 year low points. 1.7 million for the sellers, less than 1.4 million for the buyers. So there should definitely be something that is pulling prices down, but it's not uniform across the board. So what I find interesting in this, Let's take a quick look at what it takes to make these modules, at least this one for instance. We get general minerals, titanium, pyrite, mixel, and isogen. That should actually be upwards pressure because all of these, except maybe for titanium at the moment, went up in price significantly over the last year. Then we have a counter move, superconductors, a little bit of PI, planetary interaction stuff, definitely depressed, but comparing the numbers, I don't think it's going to make up for the morphite. We're going to take a quick look at that chart. The morphite chart over a year. It's heading towards 40,000 ISK here for the sellers, 37,500. Started the year at 10,000, so that is so much more expensive. All of these minerals should have really put up an increased price for the cost. So all that's really left is this stuff here, a pulse shield emitter. We can click on industry for that as well, which brings us to its blueprint that requires crystalline carbonite, ceramic fibers, and ferrogel. So advanced moon materials needed for this stuff, which has been, well, it's been under pressure most of the year, but it's not like it's generally crashed down that much either. So what I think we have to do is dig a little deeper. Let's take a look at crystalline carbonite itself. Which also has a formula. So I have never done this myself, but you have to use a reaction formula, and somewhere in low or nullsec in the right station and the right service, you can just produce this from crystallite alloy carbon polymers, and then you need fuels as well. Okay, fuel consumption here as well, interesting. And what is this made out of then? Another reaction formula, so we're diving even deeper, going to the baseline, which brings us to cobalt and cadmium. And if I do view market details on this, these are called raw moon materials. So I think this is where we actually have to take a look at it. Mixed picture, still some trade opportunities, but I'm definitely seeing pressure on the Tech 2 prices. So what would be happening? Let's take a look at that in manufacturing. There we go. Materials. And then I think it's gonna be reaction materials. There we go. So what we take a look at is advanced materials, but you can see that it takes quite a few steps in order to build up to that. And at the very base, you could say comparable to minerals, we come to these raw moon materials that actually come from moon ores. Let's say common moon ores, cobaltite is refined into cobalt, and then this stuff makes cadmium, and this makes titanium. So this is what you mine from moon mining, right? All of these ores, common, exceptional, rares, etc., and they get turned into raw moon materials. It's a list that's quite doable. Let's take a look at this one, for instance. Atmospheric gases, well, above the start of the year, but clearly under pressure at the tail end. And here is where I think the answer is. Here is cadmium. Very, very pronounced 1 year low point, well away from its average 12,500 ISK here normally. Let's do a quick market data. Currently selling for 8,000 ISK, buyers at 7,300. This is our PI depression that we are seeing here basically as well. And this is really a super low price all of a sudden. Now it's not going to be uniform, but look here at cesium. This one just dropped off a cliff as well, down to 10,000 ISK. Started the year at 20,000 ISK. That's a loss of 50% of the price. There is a jump on some investment, but it is still clearly trading well below average. Chromium also struggling, losing about a third of its 12,000 start of the year average. There are some exceptions. Here is cobalt. Okay, starts the year at 2,000 ISK, is currently going for 4,000 ISK. All of this probably with the reshuffling of what's happening. We've got a winner in raw moon materials. Then we've got some dysprosium that's actually holding. I mean, it's under pressure at the end, but it's still holding on to a decent price range, I would say. But here again, evaporite deposits back where we start the year at, and basically we have two big waves of 100%. Starts at 1,000, goes up to 2K, back down to 1,000, back up to 2K, and then back down right now. So really low, and then hafnium. That's the crash chart. And so I think it depends on what exactly you need. Some of these raw moon materials currently are being produced in massive amounts in nullsec. I've in fact had a couple of comments point out to this, that because mining in rorquals in the regular belts, anomalies and things like that, it's just you know, you don't need as much time to get everything that's available anymore. So a lot of that time is now spent into creating moon belts and just doing moon mining, which creates on some of these, perhaps depending on the region, if anyone can say in the comments if that's the case, if like there's regions with a lot more hafnium than anything else and that it's super busy there. This is probably one of the explanations, but this is a big loss. 20,000 in fact at the high point at the start of the year, and now we are down to 7,500 for the traders. Buyers are coming in at practically 7,000 disc for hafnium. This is a big part of the explanation why we're seeing some of these Tech 2 goods and chips as well be under such pressure for the price, in my opinion. Hydrocarbons, again, pressure at the end here, so clearly the majority of these, I would say, have quite a bit of price pressure here. Another super pronounced neodymium, 75,000 start of the year, most of the first half above that in price range, and now 1 year low point, and we just broke through 50,000 disc, 52,000 for the sellers, 48,000 for the buyers. That means to get this average price that there are still sellers out there that are coming here to the JITA market and are just straight dumping to these buyers in the Tranquility Trading Tower. That is a very, very low price, of course, compared to what we were at about a year ago. Platinum just crashed down in the last couple of weeks from 12,500, trying to hold on to that previous average. Now 7,500, just well away from the previous range. 7,200 for the buyers. We're gonna quickly go through the rest of the list, but Promethium confirming the trend. Scandium doing okay, holding on to 3,000. That's actually a slight winner here. Silicate's doing okay as well, but it's not like we're seeing any reverses of this, like technetium. Jesus Christ, technetium is definitely a term that dropped quite often in the old nullsec, where technetium moons were super valuable and were fought over. Starts here at 20,000, actually goes to 35,000 in the first half, and then I don't know, I think it is just moon mining activity that starts to ramp up here, and here we go, down to 10,000 disc, losing 2/3 of like the high range, and losing 50% from the start of the year. That's the depression in Tech 2 that's coming through the Tech 2 ship market, the Tech 2 module market on definitely some of them. Thulium confirming the trend. Titanium, late crash here again as well. That's kind of nuts. Tungsten doing the same thing. And finally we've got vanadium trading at a 1 year low point. 10k at the start. Buyers probably close to 5,000. Yeah, 5,400 ISK. So this is the sandbox. The complexity of the game is of course pretty damn amazing. But this is also a little bit of a warning basically for people that are looking right now at Tech 2 for volatility and for active trading. It's gonna be very, very difficult in my opinion. You can see I actually have some stuff that I bought myself, some holdings. You can see I bought a Guardian at 184 million ISK. Currently they're selling for 200 million, but buyers are at 170. Look at how big this margin is. That is completely crazy. So despite the fact that I could sell at a slight profit, right now you could buy well below my price. I also have Hounds, which I bought at 22.5 million. Yeah, that was probably on this downtrend here. Looked like a good deal, right? Well, here we go. We're at the new low point. We're now below 20 million for the sellers, so you can completely undercut my investment, you could say. Then I also have some purifiers that I bought at 22 million. Still a little bit competitive, so on a spike I'm definitely gonna try to unload. And then my biggest mistake so far, I would say, I tried a Zealot. I was like, alright, I'm gonna do one of these heavy assault cruisers. This dip here looked pretty juicy, and unfortunately, because so much raw material is coming in at the moment, the Zealot is down to a new low point, and you currently are able to buy that one for probably 165 million ISK. Now for the long term, of course, you never know exactly how all of this is going to play out, and on a lot of these charts, these 1 year low points look very, very juicy, but I have to give that warning, right? Right now we looked at what's happening in the modules as well. Still a mixed picture, but the depression of a lot of these prices is quite clear, and then I think it's unmistakable in these raw materials. So I'll show that again where that is. Not ores, but reaction materials, raw moon materials, that the large majority of these have very, very bad charts at 1 year low points. Longer term investment opportunities, that's the real question, of course. Things have changed substantially in the mining atmosphere, in the mining gameplay of EVE Online. We now have HiSec doing titanium pyrite mixalon, then we get LowSec for isogen and oxium, and then NullSec that basically focuses on Zydrine and Megasite, and then probably some sources of other stuff as well. But they have been apparently massively ramping up their moon mining, and this is depressing the raw moon materials market that then just moves through the whole chain into the Tech2 market itself. So that makes Tech2, despite the fact that it often takes minerals and things like that to produce them as well, it makes Tech2 actually a lot cheaper, while Tech1 generally will have been going up substantially. And in order to show that, I'll take some battleships, I guess. Standard battleships. So here is, for instance, the Abaddon. Here is the reverse of these charts, right? Look at these MR prices. That is pretty damn high. All of these at high points. Yeah, these are the two different waves. And so for people that were basically thinking, oh my god, minerals going up in price this much, it is just going to make absolutely everything in the game completely out of range for new players, too expensive, too risky to do. Well, you can see how players have reacted to all of this, especially NullSec has gone into the moon mining activity itself, and as a result we have that reverse of what's happening with Tech2 ships. A lot of these very, very, very cheap at the moment, and this looks super juicy, right? If you could buy Ishtars at 180 million and you look at this entire chart, you would say I'm guaranteed profit. Can't be a bad trade, but yeah, be careful, right? There is just so much more happening in the Tech2 market from the baseline that we could be moving at new lower average prices for Tech2 ships, modules, munitions, everything in the foreseeable future. So that's my read on it. Not a general crash, but there is definitely general pressure on the Tech2 market, and it's a risky business, I would say, if you're looking for active trading in the Tech2 market at the moment. I personally would be going more towards Tech3. Some of those destroyers may be full of opportunity as well. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video then, guys. A look at the Tech2 market in EVE Online at the moment. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.